Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. We got a really cool video for you today. A couple things. Number one, timestamps will direct you to certain points in the video. Similarly, discount code. That is right, we have a discount code. It will be Lone Star, L-O-N-E-S-T-A-R. You can use it on alphagloves.us. And with that said, going to try to condense this down as best I can into a short highlight video for you. So, I hurt my thumb. That's in a glove. It's out of a splint. It's supposed to be gloved for protection, support, stability, all that good stuff. The doctor didn't have a specific glove in mind. I asked if he meant Mechanix. He said that would probably be okay. Not really the most reassuring thing to hear. So I went to AutoZone, where I used to buy Mechanix gloves. Their selection was anemic. So bad, in fact, I couldn't even walk out of the store with anything. Next stop, Home Depot. Went in there. Couldn't really find anything that I liked. Settled on a pair of Milwaukee's. Decent pair of gloves, but it does not work well with where my stitches were. It constantly agitates and pulls, and it leaves these funky little lines along the stitches. Stitches of the glove in that case, all the way up and down. Can't explain it. That's what it does. That's where we're going to leave it. So, I came in and I emailed Mechanix and I said, hey, what would you recommend? And they recommended their Impact glove. That is one of their most expensive gloves, which was to be expected. Found some, luckily, at Northern Tool in Lubbock. These were on sale. Picked them up. Now, I've been using that pair as like a splint. That's why they're clean. That's why they're not dirty. It's essentially just protect my thumb glove. That's what I do with it. When I'm doing anything dirty, I switch to a different pair of gloves at work. I didn't know if those were the best things for me. I didn't know if there was anything better out there. I'm also a little leery of how those would do as a work glove and a splint type of a glove because of my past experience with Mechanix. Why I kept these, I can't tell you. I have a trunk floor that I cut out of my Charger, and I kind of kept it as shop art. I draped these over the top of it. These failed. I used to get these in high school, and they were really good gloves, and I'd come back and buy more of them, and they would fail, and I'd get more. And then it got to the point that they were failing really, really fast. And I got burned out on it. It was always the same thing. It was either, the tips, in this case, trigger, traffic, and thumb. Sometimes the palms would go. The pair prior to this one, which is the last pair of Mechanix I had bought, it actually failed like stitch-wise. I had like these gaping holes on the finger runners, which it wasn't the tips that went first. It was like this area here. Very strange. Basically got to the point that I said, I'm not going to pay for those anymore. There's got to be something just as good for less money or better for, similar price. Enter Harbor Freight. And you say, wait, you have stuff from Harbor Freight? And I say, yes, I have a lot of stuff from Harbor Freight. This is Western Safety. These held up really well for me, and I thought, well, that's probably a fluke. I'll get another pair and they'll be complete garbage. Got another pair, they weren't garbage. They had basically, initial quality was better than the Mechanix at this point in time. Similarly, I was able to get these for like half the price or less. So, I had two pairs of these in a row that were super good to me. So what did I do? I went in to grab something, I think a rivet gun for work or something, and I checked these. I grabbed, I believe, 8 pairs, I think was what was on the shelf, and a large Western Safety Mechanix glove. I bought them. This is my last one. When I was looking online after the doctor appointment with the Milwaukee gloves to my name, I went back to Harbor Freight. I tried to find those, see if they had like an Impact glove. Couldn't find anything. I guess I need to go in store and see what they have. However, I'd emailed Mechanix. They'd given me the spill, get the Impact, it would be the best for your thumb, blah, blah, blah. And my next inclination was like, okay, let me see if I can find something better. As you know, we do a lot of KC tool hauls. KC Tools German tools. I thought, surely the Germans have something, right? And so Gedor and Hazet, which we'll talk about these in greater detail later. I have pairs of gloves from both of those companies coming. So I'm going to say right now, I could say more, but I won't. And the search continued. I continued to say, hey, is that Mechanix Impact really the best thing available? And again, will it fall apart just like those did, or will it be more robust because of the price point? I have no way of knowing until I use it as a work glove, and right now it's kind of a splint glove. So, came in and I was scrolling through my emails one day on the lunch hour at work, had one from Jegs, scrolled down, looking for fuel system stuff, right? Nothing tickling my fancy. That very last rectangle, they do those little tiny rectangular ads. It's from a place called Alpha Gloves. It was actually advertising a driver glove. That would be, think, NASCAR, circle track, dirt track, quarter mile, whatever, sanctioned racing, right? And so I thought, if they're making driving gloves, I wonder if they make Mechanix type or impact type gloves. And the answer was yes. I went to their website, alphagloves.us, liked what I saw, so much so that I decided to email them just like I did Mechanix. I said, hey, here's my sad story about my thumb. I've contacted Mechanix. They recommended their impact. I just wanted to see if you would recommend your similar glove or had something better, that would work. What do you advise? Got a really quick response. So quick, in fact, I assumed it was just an automated response. It was not. It was from the president of the company, Josh Baltimore. In addition to kind of being a very warm email where he seemed to have an interest in my thumb and what would be best for it, he said, hey, give me a call when you have time to discuss your thumb. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Who calls in this day and age, right? It's always email and robots and automated stuff, and check the FAQs. So I took him up on it, gave him a call, and I have to say, the man was more interested, had more of a vested interest in my thumb, what happened to it, how it was progressing, how to best protect it, and how to protect it moving forward once it hopefully makes a full recovery, than the vast majority of the medical people that I dealt with the past 2 months did. And I'm a stranger off the street to this guy. I'm just a random dude on the internet. And for someone to take time out of their day and to go above and beyond in an attempt to help me out and help my thumb recover and protect it, that meant a lot to me. And he could have said, hey, I would recommend this, or this is my most expensive glove, buy it. And that's probably what I would have done. But, instead, his next question was like, well, what do you do? And I told him, this would sort of be more industrial, this is more mechanical, so think of that as like work and fun stuff, right? And then his next question was, what size of glove do you wear? And I told him, well, hey, I'm typically a large, but when I was down in at Northern Tool and found these Mechanix Impact, I wound up having to get an extra large for the simple fact that my thumb on my right hand is still kind of like swollen, and it's not quite the size of my left one. That's why when I lift this up, we'll see another pair of gloves. This is large, that is extra large. Why did he send those out? So I could mix and match. I don't know of another company that would be willing to do that. I don't know of another company that would take one large and one extra large and send it to me. That would screw up their inventory. Situations where they would get to send out an extra large and large to someone else may never happen, right? He actually sent 2 pairs of each of these gloves out to me so I could have a large on my left and an extra large on my right. Again, above and beyond. Similarly, he came in and I told him, I said, hey, Mechanix recommended their impact. I've got stuff coming from Germany. And he said, sending these out, see what you think of them. People that are making an inferior product that know they're not going to hold up against, that's like dropping Snap-on basically, or Mechanix, which is like the industry juggernaut. I would say the best well-known. My doctor, that doesn't really strike me as the type of guy that would be doing weekend warrior projects or servicing his own vehicle. He seems more like the type that would be chauffeured by someone. He knew of Mechanix, to kind of put it in perspective for you, right? And so for him to send these out and say, do with them what you will, that tells me the man is pretty confident in his gloves. Now, on that note, I guess we need to talk a little bit about Josh and Alpha Gloves. He started the company in 2017. Prior to that, he was in the industry for quite some time. He was also at Ringer's Gloves. Essentially, when I see these Mechanix gloves fall apart, I quit buying them. I move on, I try a different brand, probably get disappointed there, move on to third brand and see what I get, right? As the back end of the company, the executive side of said company, if you will, he noticed a trend just like I did. But his was from the flip side. So where I'm just sitting here and coming in like, hey, these used to be good, but now they suck. They're falling apart. They're not worth the money. The price hadn't come down, but the quality sure did. He hears all of that. He sees all of that, but he's on the back end, so he knows about it. It's not just a deal where we all of a sudden started working harder, It's a deal where he sees the companies come in, and where they were once using material A, they switch to material B because it saves, $1 a square yard or whatever it might be. He knows that they switched from the stitches of this variety to that variety. He knows they went from double to single, reinforcement to no reinforcement. Really, really good 3M Velcro to just kind of a generic Velcro type of a thing. And so where you and I on the consumer side of things are like, man, these used to be good, but they suck now. He's over there and he's seeing the company basically just either to compete with Chinese, rip-offs of their design or something, or just come in and increase the bottom line for the company. If Mechanix was selling these for $19.99 when I bought them in high school or whenever, and then they came in and they basically said, hey, it costs us $13 to make these gloves. We're only making $6.99 a glove. That's ridiculous. And we've got marketing on top of that. Cut costs. So when your bean counters come in and they team up and they find cheaper materials to source, the quality is going to suffer, but the price doesn't. The price is still $19.99. They're still selling the glove. And so instead of making $6 a glove, if they reduce their total cost to $8.99, they're making $11 a glove. That means they've got a net profit gain of $5 for a pair of gloves. That makes everyone at the top really happy. And what does that mean? It's like, hey, we increase profits. Why don't you go to this pair of gloves we make and see if you can work your magic there, lowering the cost? That is not something Josh liked seeing. And again, for us, it's the deterioration, the lack of quality. For him, it's the same thing, but he knows why it's happening. And he set out to start Alpha Gloves to use the superior materials to make the better pair of gloves, to make a pair of gloves that I can come in, assuming he would have just, kind of treated me like Mechanix and said, yeah, just get the vibe, it'll be the best for you. I would have bought them. And if I would have brought them in, I would have made a video on them, unbeknownst to him. Many of you would have been hearing of Alpha Gloves for the very first time. And when I told you, man, these are pretty nice, some of you would have gone out and bought some. Because you're like, hey, those are pretty cool looking gloves, or I think those look better than what I've been using. And then in 3 months when I come in and these gloves look like roadkill, but they're still intact, and I'm saying, man, you remember these gloves I brought in when my thumb was screwed up? They still haven't fallen apart, and look how much I've used them. That type of a thing, that word of mouth, first-hand experience. When I sit here with these tattered and worn down Mechanix gloves and tell you I quit buying them, that's first-hand experience. That is valuable to you. This isn't, my buddy said they fell apart, or I knew a guy that knew someone that said they did. That's me showing you. And when I tell you that the ultra cheap Western Safety from Harbor Freight actually lasted longer than the Mechanix gloves did, it's because they do. Again, first-hand experience. My email to Mechanix, my email to Josh. This is me recounting personal stories that actually happened to me, and that puts a greater value on them. So, Alpha Gloves, I'd never heard of them. I'm super glad that I checked that email. I'm super glad I kept scrolling. It's one of those ones that takes like an eternity to get to the bottom. Josh just went above and beyond. Again, he could have just, said, yeah, get these, and unbeknownst again to him, I would have cranked out a video on them, compared them with Mechanix, Western Safety, Gador, Hazette, all the myriad of gloves I've ordered on Amazon that should be coming pretty soon. But he said essentially like, hey, I'm sending these out to you, see what you think of them, put them through the paces, see how they stack up. I don't care. People don't do that if they make trash. Like if he knew that his gloves were inferior, he's going to be like, oh Lord, please don't compare it to Mechanix, and oh my gosh, you've got some really good stuff coming. That's not going to reflect good on my gloves. He was like, you know what, yeah, do it. I wouldn't say that that's cocky as much as it is confidence. That's kind of a deal where if I feel really, really good about a Filo Ergonix, and I'd say this will be the most comfortable screwdriver you've ever used. For the vast majority of people, the general public, they would grab and they're like, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing, right? I'm very confident when I throw that at someone. He knew exactly what I was bringing in, that I'd be getting him just a crud ton of gloves, trying to protect my thumb, see how they stacked up, that I thought it'd be a good video series. And he's like, yeah, see what you think of them. And so that again means a lot to me, because it tells me he's confident with what he's making. He's said it. He said he wants to make a superior glove that doesn't fall apart and last longer and exceeds user expectations. But then when you're faced with a situation where a dude is actually researching gloves and going to use them, and you're still willing to just throw them out there, I like that, and it bodes well for the future, in my opinion. But long story short, what we have, Think of this as the mechanic side. Think of this as like an industrial slash fabricator side. This is the standard from Alpha. It is essentially the Mechanix original, the Western safety, just your everyday plain Jane mechanic type of a glove. And I gotta say, they're pretty nice gloves. I have worn them a little bit. I try to keep them clean for video purposes. And then they're just gonna get thrown to the gauntlet. So right there, we've got some texture on the pinky and ring finger, and then we've sort of got a subtle reinforcement on the traffic, trigger, and thumb fingers. It's got a breathable mesh back. It's got the full Velcro closure. Let me actually grab the tag off of that pair, so I can make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see, soft neoprene wrist closure for increased comfort. Again, I'm not a seamstress. I'm not intricately familiar with materials and what's superior and the benefits of X material over Y material. I'm just like you. I can typically say when I have something in my hand, or in this case on my hand, if it feels like it's going to be good and last, or if it feels like it's a complete piece of trash. So that's kind of where I stand, and that's why we're making use of this. Breathable mesh top, covered it. Touchscreen capable, that's important. When I was buying the Mechanix gloves and when I stocked up on my Western safety, no one had any concern at all about a touchscrreen. Okay, it was a deal if you needed to do something, which, I mean, to give you an idea, around that time when I think I bought all the Western safety, I was in college, and I think I had I know I had a flip phone. That's what we had. So touchscreen phones weren't really a thing just yet. And, when I find something I like, I have a tendency to stock up on it because it goes away. VH 3K, for example, right? Anyway, back to the standard. They've got a high-grade synthetic leather palm to increase the tactile feel. Again, think of these as just your basic mechanic glove. You're not concerned about anything aside from having something on your hand to protect it a little and maintain maximum dexterity. And that's what these gloves are going to do. I believe the color schemes, this would kind of be black. There's like a coyote, sort of like a tactical army military-inspired color scheme. I believe that there is red, and then I think there's green that kind of has like the orange palm on those. So as I progress through these, if I like them, I'll try to bring in different colors as we go and restock. But the Vibe right here, the standard, again, $24.99. The Vibe will be $32.99, which that's pretty much in line, a little slightly cheaper than other similar impact gloves. And when we come in and take a gander at it, tag on the back, full TPR knuckle protection. So you probably see this, you know where the knuckles are. You may not know what TPR is. Thermoplastic rubber. That's what TPR is going to be. And it's just an acronym. It's much easier to fit on a calling card. Metacarpal protection. What is a metacarpal? What is a phalange? What is an extremity? That would be your fingers and your thumb, right? So when you come in and we've got all this going down, that's not just like for Halloween effect or something. That actually serves a purpose. More on that shortly. Touchscreen capable with these as well. One of Josh's big things is say that we had these on, and then my phone rang, or the boss came, or it's a diagnostic machine even, and we got to tap in or enter a, clear a code, whatever it might be. If you have to take your glove off, you're wasting time, and that's kind of where the inspiration on those came from. Again, they are fairly well thought out, particularly as they progressed from what we have up top here. The other thing that's very important, particularly for the work people are doing nowadays with impacts all the time, right here, that is a padded palm, but this is an anti-vibration reinforced padded palm. Once upon a time, I remember this stuff just kind of had like gel in it. It felt really good, but it would like break out, like literally. And then you had no padded protection. There's a neoprene cuff once again, and this one also features the synthetic leather palm. Now, if you recall the Mechanix gloves I had down here, where did they fail? Well, the thumb, the trigger finger, and the traffic finger. When you think about it, you really don't do much with these two fingers on the end. Now, case in point, I can't really use my thumb, so what am I doing? Index and traffic. That's how I hold this card to read off of it. But when you pay attention to these two, you'll see that they're just kind of stitched right there, nothing crazy. But when you come over here, finer eyes or trained eyes will see stitching here. What is that? Why is it there? Reinforcement. They realize they've looked at the failures in gloves, and they understand it's these first three fingers, your two fingers and your thumb, whatever you want to say. That's why they're reinforced. There is thought put into these products. And I, for one, appreciate it because I have textbooks examples of how gloves wear out and where they fail. Oftentimes, the gloves prior to this last pair I brought in, they just kind of came like unstitched all around the fingers, and I had like gaping holes here even before the fingertips went. But that's another story for another day. These, I believe, are available in black. I think the Coyote, maybe like an orange or a green with an orange palm, something like that. Again, alphagloves.us. You can check it out for yourself. Don't forget the discount code Lone Star. So this would be Mechanix stuff. This is just general purpose. This is, hey, you know, pulling tires, taking them off. Discount tire dude would be super happy with these, right? That's all they do all day. If you're using an impact a lot, if you're in an engine bay, if you're in a situation where your fingers could get smashed, whatever it might be, this would be the step up. Still have very good dexterity. I know a lot of you that have never worn an impact glove, which I was in that camp just a couple of weeks ago. You're thinking, oh Lord, you can't do anything with your fingers. What do you have to do, like grab a screwdriver and just like force it into your hands or something? No, check that out. Full dexterity. You would honestly, if you were blindfolded, not really know the difference between this and a regular glove, which speaks volumes to the way they've come, because I can only imagine when this was first developed, it was probably pretty stiff fingers and they had to work to get the mobility with them. Now again, mechanic, industrial. And when he asked what I did at work and I explained it to him, this is what he recommended. This is kind of what I was leaning towards, these two anyway, when I found the company. This is the Renegade A6 Impact. It is the nicest glove I have ever owned or had on my hand. It makes me feel like I shouldn't be working, but I should be like chauffeuring someone in a limousine. And this side right here gives off that impression. If you like these, they are goat skin. I can tell you right now there's good cut resistance with them. There is a standard Renegade that will set you back, I think, $35.99, and it would not have any of this crazy thermal plastic rubber protection of an impact glove. It would just be palm side. This is going to be the back side aesthetic as well. And for $39.99, you can get the TPR version, which is what we have here. Absolutely massive protection across the knuckles and the top of the hand. Then full length protection on all of the fingers and the thumb, which that's the big one for me because that provides the most support and stability. The goat skin, it breathes like crazy. When I just close my fingers to my palm like that, it's almost like there's a rush of air every time that comes out of the cuff. These are open cuff. And, I suppose that's so you can get them on and off quicker, because again, these would be designed for like a fabricator type of a position, handling metal. This is kind of like the Nipro screwdriver. I'll turn screws with it, but I would hate to use it as an actual striking cap screwdriver because it will ruin the aesthetics of it. It's going to be sad to use these as like a legit work glove because I know they're going to get dirty, and they seem too nice to subject to that sort of a life. But that's what I'm going to do. Coming in back down this way with the Vibe, again, $32.99. I'm at a point where I've really gotten to where I appreciate the impact type of stuff. I've gotten to where I kind of, like all of a sudden this stuff that I would have thought that's a weird glove, 3 months ago, I'm like, oh, hey, well, let me check this out a little bit more. And that happens when you have things go on, like nearly losing your thumb, for example. And it's kind of cool to kind of research this and see what the different companies are doing and what they offer. Both of these will have touchscreen protection. There is a similar glove to these two without the impact protection called the Scuff. I think it's open cuff. Full disclosure, both of these are Velcro. So are my Mechanix, so are the Western Safety. Now, I typically leave my gloves like this. Why? Because I find it's easier to move and it breathes a little better. I do, however, like the Velcro for one simple reason. Honestly, like 90% of the time, it's just in my way and cumbersome, and I really don't like ratcheting down and strapping it. However, when I'm grinding, regardless of what it is, I always seem, to get hit by shrapnel and hot metal right across my forearm, and then inevitably what happens, particularly like with body work, When I do the trunk floor in the Charger, I'm in the trunk on my knees grinding away at spot welds, for example. When that comes down and I had the cuff open like this, instead of just burning me here and you winch away in pain real quick, it's a deal where that then just rolls down into my glove, and the whole way it's hot, and then it stops about right here, and you frantically shake your hand trying to get the air movement to cool the metal off, and then the molten metal comes down into your finger. By that point in time, it's not necessarily going to burn you like it did on your forearm and on your palm, but then you've got to stop what you're doing, take your glove off, shake it out, try to get all the metal to dump out so you can get back to work. That's why I don't gripe too much about Velcro on anything, because it allows me to close the glove and mitigate some of that. Every once in a while I still have that rogue piece that drops in and ruins your 15 minutes of fame or whatever, but I do appreciate them there. Again, the Mechanix, you can probably tell by the way that's bent over, I very rarely used it. In fact, that Velcro looks mint. I really can't say enough about Josh. Again, he just went above and beyond. Never thought someone would send out gloves, never thought somebody would send out a discount code for y'all, never thought somebody would send out banners, which is awesome, because again, I am a big banner guy, decking the shop out in them. Gotta wait until the roof is done. It should be coming Monday or Tuesday of next week. And with that said, though, once again, alphagloves.us, this is the standard, that's the vibe, this is the Renegade A6 Impact. Discount code of Lone Star will save you a little bit of cash if you want to bring these in. If you do, let us know what you think of them. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, I believe the Challenger has cooled off. I'm going to go ahead and drain the coolant one more time. Then I should have my final fill, get that thing off of the jack stands, finally back on the streets where it belongs. But I'll be doing it without my right thumb, but at least it is protected and fashionably so. Once again, big thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know, had you heard of Alpha Gloves? Is this your first time seeing them? What are your initial impressions? Do you plan to come and bring them in? Again, if you do, let me know what you think of them. But with that said, I got to get back to work. I'll catch you guys back here in the next one.